What tier were you in back then, or what were your sales looking like in comparison to now?
I think I was in tier 100. I don't know that I was getting daily sales at that time. Right now I'm in tier 4,000. I've got just over 4,600 sales. And then just 2 or 3 days ago, out of the blue, I had a 60 sales day.
In this episode of Print on Demand Wisdom, I interviewed Steve, who is a very active member in my Discord server, and I actually had him on this podcast as one of my first ever guests at the beginning of 2023. He's made a lot of progress since then, and he's going to share some of the key lessons that he's learned with us to help him massively grow his sales to a point where they're nearly outpacing his 9-to-5 income. Some of the topics we're going to cover is how to create better t-shirt designs, what to watch out for when writing your listings, how to stay motivated when your sales are low, as well as coming up with funny phrases and puns for your designs that actually sell. Hey Steve, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Good to see you again.
Yeah, thanks for coming on the show again. For those of you who don't know, we actually had one of my first ever podcast interviews, episodes, and that was last year in February, which is, it doesn't feel, well, it feels a long time ago. It isn't really that long ago if you think about it, but a lot has changed since then, not just for me, but also for you. So why don't you talk to us about what changed since last year in terms of your print on demand journey?
Sure. Well, hey, congratulations on your subscriber count. That's grown
Thank
a
you.
lot. That's been a big change. You just hit 1 million viewers, a million subscribers.
Almost.
Almost. Well, it should be. You deserve it.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, last year, I checked this back yesterday out of interest. Last year in February, I was, I think, around 7,000 or 8,000. And yeah, now it's just, or I've just now surpassed 100,000, which is crazy to think because it's only been a year and a bit, a year and a half. But that's not the focus of this interview. Let's switch back to your progress. So what tier were you in back then, or what were your sales looking like in comparison to now?
So I think I was in tier 100 at the time. I know I had escaped tier 10 finally, and had been growing since then. I don't know that I was getting daily sales at that time. I think frequently I would have a 0 sales day, and so right now I'm in tier 4,000. And thrilled about that. I've got just over 4,600 sales. So, Philip, I'm stuck in 4,000. I'm stuck in tier 4,000. What can you do to help me out?
Terrible place to be in. Yeah, really well done on the progress. I remember us talking back then, and we were literally discussing you being stuck in tier 10 and like taking forever to get out of that. Yeah, now it's another situation. But yeah, your sales have progressed really well. You just posted in the Discord server, you had your best day the other day. Well, why don't you mention that best day as a comparison to what it was like a year and a half ago, where you did still have a lot of days with literally 0 sales?
Right, exactly. Yeah. So I frequently had days with 0 sales. At the end of the day, I was happy to have 1 or 2 sales. I've gone, I'm coming up on a year. Actually, I think it's going to be like about 300 days now. I love looking at that stat on Productor where it says how many days since your last 0 sales day. And I'm coming up on just about 300. So I've had consistent sales for that many days. Amazon Prime Day was great for me, and I think it was great for a lot of sellers. I got there was 48 sales on that day, and that was definitely a record at the time. And then just 2 or 3 days ago, out of the blue, I had a 60 sales day, and so
nice.
That's exciting. Now, Philip, you probably make that while you're eating breakfast.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
not really. But you're catching up to me. You're catching up to me. You're doing well.
Well, but I think this is a good reminder that there's people at all different levels. People who are making hundreds of sales a day, and you can certainly see in the Discord community that there's people who are posting they're making hundreds of sales a day. There's people who are happy to have any sales in a day, and there's maybe guys like me that are somewhere in between.
Well, I think it's really inspiring because not only were you stuck at a very low sales rate a year and a half ago, but a lot of people in 2023 or in 2022 would have said, print on demand, it's too saturated. There's no hope for this. Like, don't bother starting it. But you showed it's possible. And not just that, but you've got a family, you've got kids, and you're working other jobs as well. This is not your main thing. This is something you do as not as a hobby. You do it for fun, and you do it to make money, but it's not your primary focus in life. And that is really inspiring and very impressive. So yeah, well done on that front.
Thank you. Yeah, I would say that, it's something I'm always working on, and I always, I enjoy it. It's fun. I kind of view this whole thing like a treasure hunt. Can you find a good niche? Can you find a good design? Can you design something that's going to resonate with customers, that's going to resonate with buyers? And so the whole gaming element of it, I view it that way. It's fun. I'm enjoying the process.
What are some of the key lessons that you've learned since last year?
I've learned a lot, and I think just over time, I think anybody's going to grow in a lot of different areas. And I think it's, there's a lot of elements to being successful in print on demand. And I hope I've grown in all of them, a lot of them. One basic area would be T-shirt design, and specifically learning how to design for T-shirts and how that's different than learning how to design for, say, posters or logos or other things that, maybe graphic artists and creative types like to do. I think there's something unique about a T-shirt design that's different than any other medium. And so learning how to design for that, super important. But then again, learning how to write good SEO and choose good keywords, learning how to find good niches and design for those different styles, learning how to design in different styles, learning how to target different customers. So those are, a lot of different lessons I've learned, and, we can talk about any of those that you want to, but just learning and growing overall.
Yeah, I believe you've got a list of notes that you sent me beforehand of some of the key
Sure.
lessons, key points. Maybe we could cover some of them. People who are in your situation from a year and a half ago can kind of look at those and see, okay, this is what I've got to take on board and learn to level up to tier 4,000,
Right.
for example. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, a good practice that's been effective for me is just scrolling through best-selling designs and looking at them and taking time to absorb the design styles and what looks good on a T-shirt and what sells. There's the analogy has been made before about counterfeiting and about counterfeit money, and how bank tellers often, they're good at spotting counterfeits because they handle real money all the time. They're handling physical money. And so when something is off and something that's not quite right, comes their way, they spot it. And it's like, well, wait, this is a counterfeit. And I think the same thing can be true for T-shirt design, that when you take the time to look at good T-shirt design and you see those best sellers, and then maybe see one of your own and compare, look at your screen and look at, what you've got up there. Well, wait, something's not right. This doesn't look like the others. What's different and what's wrong? I think, taking the time to familiarize yourself with bestsellers and the different T-shirt designs that work well, super important.
I think that's a good point, because a lot of people starting out, they kind of want to design something that they think looks good, or that they might want to buy themselves in a shop. But then they completely miss the point of, I think a lot of print of demand designs are designed with this specific customer in mind, and the style might differ a lot from what you see in the stores or what you like yourself personally. And that's where a lot of people struggle, I think, at the beginning. So that is important. Study the bestsellers, see what really works, and compare it to what are you designing at the moment. So good point there.
Absolutely. I think what you said there hit the nail on the head, just in terms of having a specific customer in mind. One approach I've been taking that works well is to have a specific person in mind when you're designing. So I've done shirts for friends, and not necessarily just to sell them the shirt that you want to make a sale, but thinking, okay, I know this person, they're into this niche. Let me design something that they would actually wear. I think of, like my dad, he's interested in different things. And, would my dad actually wear this shirt? Or, a specific friend, or my wife, or my kids, or I'm a teacher, can I see, other teachers actually wearing this shirt? Can I see students, kids actually wearing this shirt? And so having a specific person in mind is very helpful when creating a design.
For sure, for sure. What are some other lessons that you've learned? Maybe in terms of niches.
In terms of niches, one thing I've been learning is how to cross niche effectively and how to do those scaled out designs effectively, and learning how to cross niche with two different levels. And you guys have talked about this in your podcasts and your videos, but in terms of having a specific person, whether it's their job title or their family title, like they're a grandma or grandpa or uncle, and then cross niching that with a specific hobby and a profession. So having those two different elements across niche can be very effective. But then also in terms of different niches and different approaches, we've been talking a lot lately, and you've been talking a lot lately about the Tomas method, and all that goes into that, and that's a whole huge conversation.
Have you tried it?
But not just. I've been trying it, yes. Okay. And I mean, it's hard to say what works yet. I'm still experimenting. But I think one approach that he's talked about in the Discord community, and one thing that you've talked about, is the idea of going broad. So swinging for the fences, creating a design that you intend to sell a lot of. And that might sound kind of obvious. Well, we all want our designs to sell a lot. We all want to have the best seller. But I think I've been growing in the approach of, okay, I'm going to go big here. I'm going to create a design that's in a broad niche that I want to appeal to a wide array of customers, or to appeal broadly to a particular niche or particular set of customers. Taking that approach versus taking the other approach where you're sub-niching and you're really focusing in on a specific customer. I think it's important to take both approaches, and I've had success with both approaches. I think some of my best sellers are kind of the broad niches, but then it's fun to get the evergreen sales from those smaller sub-niche type designs. They don't sell as well, but I think they can be effective in your overall portfolio.
I think that the only downside to the broad approach is that if you're in a lower tier, that tends to be difficult to sell without ads, because you only have a few slots. You're trying to get the sales organically in a competitive niche, but it is definitely, once you have the slots, once you have access to ads, it's definitely something to try an ad rather than just going for sub niches. Because if you manage to compete in one of those broader niches, it's going to soak up a lot more sales. So I'm glad to hear you trying that out as well. I hope you find at least one that works really well for Q4. I'm really excited for that myself.
Well, and I'll give you a little plug here. I've been fortunate to preview your course, and your course has been fantastic. And in your course, you've got the video about the lake. I don't want to give a spoiler alert here or anything, but just the idea of knowing how to choose niches effectively. How broad do you want to go? How narrow do you want to go? And this particularly for a tier 10 seller or somebody who's newer, print on demand, knowing how to find that sweet spot of how broad versus how narrow.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that. The fishing lake analogy. I do have an old video about that as well, but I do go a lot more in depth in the course with lots of examples. So let's talk about some other lessons that you've learned. What about trends and evergreen niches? Do you still bother with trends, or do you fully focus on evergreens? What's your stance there?
So here's a thought about trends and evergreens. And I think evergreens are like the bass player in a rock band, right? The bass player, he's back there doing his thing, doing his job, consistent, steady, not drawing a lot of attention. I think evergreens are like that, where they can get you consistent sales throughout the year. And evergreens, they definitely sell great at Q4, but I think they can sell great all year. Trends are more like the electric, lead guitar player in a rock band, where it takes a solo and it's wild, it's crazy, it's a big spike in energy, but eventually it's going to end. Eventually that guitar solo ends. And so I think trends can be kind of the same way, where it's exciting and you have potential to get good sales, but eventually they're going to die out. And kind of the same thing with seasonal design. You can have a big spike for seasonal designs for a while, but it's eventually going to love out, to die out. So, you got to love those evergreens. You got to love the bass player in the band who's just steady, doing his thing, not drawing a lot of attention, but reliable, consistent. I love it.
I can see the music teacher coming through there for sure. That's a good
Yes,
analogy.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
So is that you saying that you fully focus on mostly focus on evergreens now? Because I think one of your first designs that sold really well was a holiday related one, which I know it's kind of in between evergreen and trends, but do you still go after like Halloween and stuff like that, or is it just evergreen now?
Well, that's where, again, I think the Tomas method has been helpful for me to have a perspective on my overall portfolio. I really enjoy designing the evergreens. I think that's the kind of thing that I'm just drawn towards and I enjoy. And, if you're going to have long-term success in print on demand, you've got to enjoy the process. But I've been intentionally doing some more with trends and more with seasonal designs. In an effort to kind of, boost those sales. And, man, you see people getting these big sales and having success with trends. And, I want to be part of that too. But just in terms of what I enjoy doing from day to day, I would say I enjoy going after the evergreen.
You mentioned SEO and keywords at the beginning as well. What are some of the lessons you've learned there?
I've been learning to choose my keywords more effectively. I will say one of the tools that's been very effective is the PODCS Redbubble keywords. I'm not sure what the term is, but keyword finder, keyword generator. There you go. Yeah, so that's one that I've defaulted to a lot. I think I started out with choosing a lot of keywords, and then as I've grown and learned, I've been learning to choose more relevant keywords. That I don't want my ads to click, I don't want to get impressions and waste clicks on irrelevant keywords. So learning how to choose keywords more effectively. One thing just very recently that I kind of feel silly for not having made the connection with earlier, but and we're talking, mainly about Amazon, and I use Productor, for uploading and that kind of thing. But when you upload a design to Productor, in the lower left-hand corner, it shows you your focus keywords. And the other day, I looked at, I was getting ready to upload a design and looked at the focus keywords, and I kind of had to do a double take because the focus keywords were not the ones that I would have thought. And I thought, okay, wow, if I'm going to get indexed on those keywords, I'm going to miss out on some sales. And so I'm doing a better job of looking at that section specifically and knowing what keywords to choose. And so I'm writing my titles a little bit differently. I'm writing my SEO a little bit differently, omitting some words that I maybe would have included in the past. Again, I think this is different for Amazon than maybe it is for Etsy or Redbubble, where you're literally choosing your keywords. But I think a good lesson for anyone is just choose them specifically and know what you're targeting and know what you're not targeting.
Yeah, that's a good tip. I think that's an underrated feature that many people miss. It does tell you the amount of occurrences, doesn't it? How many times you've used the keyword in your listing and which ones are the most present or prevalent. So yeah, that's a good tip there. So make sure that your listing is actually optimized for your design and it doesn't have a lot of random keywords that you don't really want to be indexed on. Right. What do you do if a design starts to sell or some new niche starts to sell? What are some of the steps that you take?
You mean other than doing cartwheels and
exactly.
having a celebration? Yeah. Okay. So I'm getting better about doing variations on a design and doing more of what works. So if you've got a design that's doing well and that's been successful, I wish we could talk to customers and find out specifically about what they liked about something. But taking the approach, okay, I'm going to look at this design objectively. Okay, what works well? The keywords, the caption, the graphics, the fonts. Can I expand an existing listing? and make different variations of the design. You've talked a lot about, okay, if a design works on a dark t-shirt, can you put it on a light t-shirt? If it works well in a particular font or particular design style, can you take it to a different design style? Can you take a design that's successful and put it in sort of the boho, I think of the Creative Fabrica type, design look. I think their designs tend to have a specific look to them. Can I do it in a real masculine style? Can I do it in a childish, fun, playful style? Can you take designs and make them successful in other approaches? So that's one approach with looking at a successful design, figuring out what works, and then scaling it out.
Mm-hmm. So testing out different styles, potentially applying it to different niches as well. Like, can I take this concept, apply it to different niche, right? That's
absolutely,
that's stuff that's always worked really well for me as well. The one side note there, though, for the putting it onto white shirts, maybe hold back on that a little bit at the moment. What do you think of the recent news there? It's terrible, isn't it?
Oh man, that has been terrible. Yeah, and it's been interesting to hear, people talk about that.
Has it affected you?
It has affected me. One of my designs that's doing well now. This is one that fortunately it looks good on a dark T-shirt, but they put it on all colors, and I put a post in the Discord community there. It's not even showing the icons of the colors. It's what I got was a drop down menu of the names of the colors, which. Yeah. If you're colorblind, that's fine. If you're actually looking through and you want to see the design in different colors, clicking on the colors is something that I'm sure that Amazon Amazon customers do. And so, yeah, it seemed like a good idea at the time. Put the T-shirt on all different colors, but yeah, no, it doesn't work well. One thing, and getting back to the idea of what's working effectively. One approach that I've taken is to design for specific T-shirt colors, and knowing that looking at the pages of search results, that mostly black T-shirts tend to show up, and the idea of having a different color, so catching the customer's eye by having a different color. So a lot of my designs that have been doing well are not on black, but it's for a specific color, and boy, if they were to just maximize all the different colors and show a different color thumbnail, that would not work. No bueno.
It wouldn't. No, I hope that doesn't get forced on us for every single listing indefinitely into the future. But what you mentioned there, do you mean you tested out colors, say like red or green, like random colors like that, or would you try an approach like navy or asphalt, like another really popular color that tends to do well, but you barely see it in the thumbnails? What sort of colors did you try out?
Now, I'm going to get some laughs here, but I'm a fan of the grass green T-shirt.
Oh, really?
I think, yeah, I like that look. I think for certain niches it works well, but the green, the pink. I happen to get for something totally different, unrelated to print on demand. I got a white T-shirt, or was given a white T-shirt for a particular event, and it looks. I don't like it. So I wouldn't say the white T-shirts are something that I personally like, and I'm not sure how well they sell. You got to look at the data, and you got to look at what sells well in the different platforms. But I don't usually design for white T-shirts. I'll take the approach of design for light T-shirts. Light blue, I've got some that I've specifically designed and chosen the color palette to work well on a light blue T-shirt. So going for a specific color, I think that can be an effective approach.
I think it depends on the niche for sure, because there's one topic, for example, where I've got designs that they're specifically designed with a red T-shirt background in mind, and that's also the only option there is. I was hoping that those don't get added to all colors.
Right.
But yeah, it really depends on the niche. Like hiking, I could probably see a lot of green T-shirts working there because it's more nature orientated, whereas fishing, maybe not so much, right? You kind of need to figure out what's the interest, or what will people be more drawn to in your niche. I've got a quote from you here that I'd like you to elaborate. And you can look at your notes, by the way, if you want to name examples. So you said for designing t-shirts or finding phrases, say you love the thing without saying you love the thing. What do you mean by that?
Absolutely, yeah. So this is taking a different approach other than a scaled out phrase. So if you're doing scaled designs, we all love those phrases that you can apply different niches to. Just a girl who loves ramen. Just a dad who loves fishing. Those phrases work well in terms of a scaled out style. But I've been having a lot of fun coming up with captions that are, it's a lot more labor intensive, but coming up with captions that work specifically well for one particular niche. And what I mean by that, say you love the thing without saying you love the thing. So don't say, I love fishing. Okay, that's we've all been there. We've done that. But can you say it in a different way? So instead of saying I love camping, can you say feeding mosquitoes since 1985? That's kind of a fun little way to say that you love the outdoors. The one I've enjoyed, and it's a longer phrase, but instead of saying I love cooking, saying made with love means I licked the spoon and kept on using it. I've seen that one. That's not an original one, but that funny way to say that you love cooking without being quite so literal about it. Another good one for the baseball niche, especially for a woman. Instead of saying just a girl who loves baseball, having I'm out of your league.
Brilliant. Yeah. So those are definitely great because they're like these little inside jokes that people that are within that niche or that like that topic would understand a lot more easily. And well, I think the question here is how do you get the ideas? How do you find those sorts of ideas if you can't come up with them yourself? If you're not into baseball or not into cooking, what would you suggest?
Sure. So one idea, and this is where AI can be helpful. Not writing the phrases for you, but it's just in terms of generating terms that are related to a specific niche. Okay, so say baseball. Okay, just give me 20 terms that are related to baseball, and looking at those terms, and then there's different apps, and I honestly don't recall the name of the app that I've been using lately, but idioms. So using apps or websites or whatever that will help you find idioms that are related to a specific niche or a specific word, like the word league. Okay, so what are some phrases that use the word league, like out of your league? Okay, out of your league is a common phrase that's not necessarily related to baseball, but of course we're applying it to baseball in this case. So idioms that are related to a particular niche. And you've got to be creative with using your brain and connecting. Rhyming can be helpful. So taking a phrase, a common phrase, and changing out one of the words to be a niche-related term that rhymes, and you're substituting in one of the words in an existing phrase. That could be a fun way to take that approach.
Love those tips. I've never heard anyone mention idioms. I didn't even know what it means until I just looked it up. So, yeah, that's amazing. That definitely makes sense. Since we last spoke, how has your design process changed? Because back then, I remember you were starting out with Midjourney, and I think the whole world kind of was a bit different with AI tools. It feels like a lot's changed since then. What do you do nowadays, or what do you do differently?
Well, Philip, I'm going to let you down here. I haven't changed a whole lot.
Oh wow!
I'm still pretty loyal to Midjourney. I think it's definitely improved a lot in a lot of different areas. It's got a lot better with musical instruments. I'm a music teacher. I've used AI graphics for things that are not related to print on demand, and it's doing a whole lot better with instruments and that kind of thing. And I'm still using Photoshop as my main design tool. And so, I think maybe a lesson there is kind of, do what works well for you. And I want to experiment more and expand out more, but I've still found that it's working well. Personally, I am not really going for the text approach in AI. And I know that that's something that maybe is a lot different for a lot of users, but I'm not necessarily trying to get, or I'm definitely not trying to get a finished t-shirt design straight from AI. And I know that people love to get the text that works right and where everything's spelled correctly and laid out correctly. I think it can be helpful for layout ideas, like, if again, you've got some of these phrases that you want to use in a t-shirt design, and I think it's helpful. And ideogram, I think, has been helpful for this, where it'll lay out the text in a particular style. And I'm going to use that layout. I don't like the font. I don't like the colors. I don't like the way it looks, but I like the layout. And so I think that's one area that I've been growing with in terms of using AI and using different AI tools.
I do remember you complaining about the music instruments a lot, so it's interesting to hear that's changed. And I think this is a good example to show that you've been using Midjourney all this time. You use it for your graphics, right? And then you add text yourself. So just because I sometimes say, I don't like Midjourney as much for print on demand, and I prefer Ideogram or I prefer Flux, Kidl AI. That doesn't mean Midjourney doesn't work for POD. It's what works for you. Like, what are you proficient with? You stayed loyal to the tool. I'm sure you're really good and very efficient and quick now with coming up with good graphics with it. And that can work as well. Like, it's been working for you. Your sales have been going up a lot. So it's not just because the YouTuber says something, you should definitely avoid it. Still test out the tools and see what works best for you. And I'm also curious about how has your kind of vectorizing, upscaling, that sort of stuff, how has that changed, if at all?
Not very much. I'll say that Vectorizer AI, that they got me hooked on the free version, right. And then then they started charging, and I experimented and looked around at some of the different free options. So again, like you referred to the fact that I'm a full-time teacher and I only have a few hours a day, and not even every day to work on my print-on-demand business. So I would say I spent a little bit of time looking at the different options, but at the end of the day, man, okay, Vectorizer, take my money. Here you go. You're giving a good product, and I'm happy with that.
Yeah, that's what I was interested in, because Vectorizer has become paid. So you still vectorize mainly, you don't use upscalers, which makes sense. And then you take it into Illustrator, or how do you carry on from there?
I use Photoshop. So one of my projects this summer, Philip, and I'm ashamed of myself, but I really wanted to learn how to use Illustrator to create scaled out designs the way that you've talked about doing. And man, I just couldn't wrap my head around it, and it was just kind of a different system. Now, one thing I have been doing, and this would be good, for any other sellers at my level, but you might remember a few months ago there was a big issue with Productor, and there were all kinds of glitches with Productor, and things were not working right. And then I think they've ironed a lot of that out. But one thing I learned in the process of that experience was learning to use Excel sheets or particularly CSV files to learn how to create scaled out designs that way. So that element of Productor has been very helpful. So that's one area that I've grown in, is learning the skill. And you've got a good video on that, learning how to use the spreadsheet feature, importing that through Productor to create scaled out design.
And that still works now? Because I know some features with Productor, they've kind of gone downhill, or they've become a bit buggy. That one's still working fine for you, or?
It still works fine for me, yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, I think that's kind of the best way, or one of the quickest ways to upload if you don't use something like Flying Upload or Merge Titans. I use that feature a lot, and it definitely saved me a lot of time. What kept you going when your sales were slow? Because the last time we spoke, you had already been doing POD for quite a while, and like you said, you did have still quite a lot of days with zero sales. What kept you motivated? Because I think from my guesstimation, it probably took you about a year and a half to really see your sales taking off, or getting to a level where they made a significant difference.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. It was a year or more, but I enjoy the process. I think you've got to enjoy it. You've talked a lot about putting in the reps and having 100 designs. And I would say, if you don't enjoy it after 100 designs, then maybe this isn't for you. I found that to be true in other areas. So specifically to answer your question, I kept on with it because I enjoy it. And again, I view it like a treasure hunt. Can I find that design? Can I find that niche? Can I find a design style? Can I find fonts and colors and everything that works well to create an effective, good selling T-shirt design? I enjoy that process. It's like a game. It's fun. I think you have to enjoy it. On kind of another level, though, watching different YouTubers and people like you who are in print on demand, partly for the creative process, but and also for the entrepreneurial elements. And I've experimented a little bit with, getting into some of the other kinds of things that, print on demand sellers are into. And I found that I just don't have, it's not in my heart, it's not in my soul to do some of those other entrepreneurial endeavors. So I love just the idea of coming up with a great T-shirt, and the SEO and the keywords, the niche, the design, the layout, the colors. Bring it on. Let's do it. That's fun.
Yeah, that's definitely a good point. Like if you're someone with a different kind of character and you absolutely love running ads and spending time in the ads console, double down on that. If that's what you enjoy, make that work. If you don't enjoy the design process, spend less time with that. It's simple things for me sometimes as a creative person. If I get bored of designing, I'll just find some new fonts and then it's fun again, like you mentioned there. What are some of the things that you tried which you eventually just said, okay, this is no fun, I'll give up on this?
So I wanted to pay for my ads. My idea was I wanted to have a different source of income that I could use to offset my ad spend. Because I took a pretty aggressive approach. Once I got access to ads, it's like, okay, yeah, now we're cooking with gas here. We can do this. So I was spending a lot in ads, and my idea was to have another source of income that would pay for my ad spend. So I experimented a little bit with blogging and trying to get some income that way. And I started to put in some reps, and I enjoy writing. I enjoy the niche I was going after, but I found that my heart wasn't in it, and I got kind of tired of the process after maybe 10 posts and decided it wasn't for me. And then I kind of made the connection that, okay, well, if I want to pay for my ads, the best thing I can do is create better T-shirts that sell more, and that'll help pay for ads. So just designing better T-shirts, designing better selling products. That's the way to pay for your ads.
Yeah, you could spend a year or two like torturing yourself with writing blog articles that you don't really enjoy. But yeah, why not focus on the thing that you love that then also helps you progress with that, right? Definitely good outlook there. Because yeah, for example, like I could also imagine building a social media page to get a massive following around a certain niche and then drive them to my traffic. I don't want to. I don't enjoy it. And it would take a long time to get to where it needs to be, right? So, yeah. So some good points there. If you had to start again now with print on demand, if you had to start from scratch, what is one thing that you'd do differently?
One thing I would probably do differently, and this is more specific to Amazon, but I would probably come up with a more, and I have been doing this, a more specific or a more consistent set of brand names. I think brand names are an element of the Amazon process that maybe doesn't get talked about a whole lot. The approach I was taking at the beginning was having a different brand name for just about every design. The idea of taking the title and putting that into the brand name for the purpose of getting good keywords. And then I made the realization at one point, and this is one element of print on demand that maybe I'm not so crazy about, is the idea of getting repeat customers. It's hard to get repeat customers in print on demand. And one approach to counteract that, or one approach to try and get more consistent, a more consistent customer base, is having a more consistent set of brand names. And so I've been keeping track of my brand names. I'm trying to use more consistent brand names for each of the different niches that I'm in. I had a day, like 2 or 3 days ago, where I am 100% convinced that I got multiple sales. It was my best day. I got multiple sales that I'm sure that the customer was clicking the brand name to get the different designs, because it was a set of scaled out designs that were in a particular niche, and I know that the customer had to have been clicking the brand name in order to get that. So that's one thing I would maybe do differently, is having a consistent set of brands.
Yeah, I noticed that sometimes as well. You'll have like a few new sales come in and they're all from the same brand name, but the different designs. And you can kind of tell, okay, that's probably one bulk order where people were kind of shopping for the family or something along those lines. Interesting tip. Yeah, no one really talks about brand names much, but it also helps from a management perspective, I've noticed. So I've always kind of put one niche under the same brand name, but I will now be very, very strict and use as little brand names as possible, because if you're trying to filter through different brands, whether it is for ads or managing listings in Producta, it gets really complicated. If you have a different brand name for every single design, it's very difficult to filter out certain listings then, whether it is for an ad campaign or whether you want to make some changes to them. So it's not just better for the customer, but also better for you as a seller, I think, in many cases. Even if you lose out on like perfect keywords in the brand name, don't worry about that. You will still get found.
I'd love to hear more thoughts on that. You need to do a video about the different features, because that's not really something I was thinking about. I was thinking more from the customer perspective. But leave a comment if you want to see Phil do a video about the effective use of brand name.
Okay. I have a feeling that not that many people watch that video. It sounds like such a boring topic, kind of like trademarks, right? Oh, who cares?
That's right.
But maybe if a few people comment.
Your cure for insomnia.
Yeah.
Video about brand names and trademarks.
Yeah, nice one to fall asleep to. What are some of the plans you've got to keep progressing with POD now?
I'm having fun with it. I think that taking different approaches with filling out my portfolio. We've talked about it a little bit before, but learning how to scale down effectively, but then also learning how to swing for the fences and go for those big designs that are going to sell well. I want to get more competitive in some of the more competitive niches. I think that's fun. But then I also just enjoy the design process and go for evergreens and scale down design as well.
Do you think you would ever get upload automation if you get to a higher tier and you struggle to fill out your slots, or is that something that you don't want to do?
No, I really should. One thing I'll add here as a side note to that, I would say that in the process of my growth, every time I added a new tool to my library in terms of a subscription-based tool, whether it's PODCES or Midjourney or some of the other paid tools that are related to print on demand, I feel like every time that I've done that, where I've added a new tool to my library, it's kind of leveled up my print on demand experience and success. So probably the next level would be an uploader tool, and I've been enjoying your conversations with the folks at Flying Upload, and that's maybe the next thing.
But you've done it.
We can talk about that in a year.
Yeah, we'll talk again in a year. You've been to 100,000.
Oh man, that'd be great.
Yeah. But you've done it gradually, right? I think that's important to note, because I speak to a lot of people who they found out about print on demand a week ago and they've already got 8 subscriptions and they don't know how to use any of the tools, which is, I don't blame you for that. It definitely seems like that might be something you should be doing, like based on the YouTube videos that you watch. But I don't think that's a very effective strategy. What do you think?
I agree with you. I think, if you're adding, maybe the fastest you would want to go would maybe be adding a new tool a month to your tool bag. A major element of growth for me was learning how to do free niche research, and you've got a great video on this about learning how to use the Amazon search bar to the autocomplete, and then looking at BSRs. You did a video one time about learning how to do free research, niche research, and it kind of blew my mind because at the time, one of my, when you get introduced to Amazon Merchant on Demand, one of the first tools that comes up is Merchant Former. And so I watched a lot of videos about Merchant Former. So they kind of got me hooked on using Merchant Former. And so I sort of got addicted to using that tool to do my niche research. And I think it could be very effective, but it kind of blew my mind when I was thinking about the idea of doing it, about learning how to confirm your niches using free tools. Like, what do you mean I'm using free tools? I need the tool to tell me if this is going to be effective. And well, no, you got to learn how to do it on your own and use your brain and use common sense to figure out what's going to be effective. So the idea of using tools and not using tools and knowing how to do it on demand.
It doesn't always have to be paid. Like, obviously some tools you won't find for free, like something like Flying Upload, but there is so many areas of print on demand where there are free alternatives that are not necessarily worse, right? And you don't know until you test them. There's no one sort of best method to do research. I think browsing or sort of flipping between different ones can sometimes give you a lot of different perspectives, which is better than always using Merchant Former, always using PODCS, Flying Research, whatever it is, or always just using a free method, right? Maybe that's all you've been doing your entire life and you're struggling to get more sales, then okay, perhaps it's worth trying one of the paid methods as well. It just depends on your situation, I'd say. One thing I'm interested in. Yeah, carry on.
Yeah, just interject there. One free tool that gets overlooked and that it doesn't get talked about a lot is Pinterest. I use Pinterest a lot during research, and not necessarily for the niche research in terms of like finding bestsellers or anything like that, but just if you type in to Pinterest, funny T-shirt design, and you look at what's showing up, I think that's a great way, again, for newer sellers, people who are newer to the print on demand workspace, to just learn what a good, effective T-shirt design looks like and what's working well. You can certainly type in different niches, funny baseball T-shirt or big baseball T-shirt in general. That's a good free tool that doesn't get talked about a lot, and it's been effective for me.
Yeah, you've kind of made me want to make a video about that now, because if you think about it, I'm not a Pinterest expert, right? But it's technically a collection of screenshots from all sorts of marketplaces, like the entire internet, or it could be social media even, where you're getting screenshots from funny T-shirts all in one place. And some of those most likely are not on Amazon yet, right? Because they're coming from all over the internet. Yeah, it is probably a really good place for inspiration, for phrases, for design styles, and just things that resonate with people, because that's why you see them on Pinterest, is because they resonate, right? Other people are repinning it or sharing it or however it works.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead. And I interrupted you earlier. Go ahead.
Yeah, one question I was kind of interested in is, are you going to ever quit the teaching job if this outperforms the income, or is that not an option for you?
Well, no, it's not an option. I'm a teacher at heart. I love it. I'm in it for good. I'm not going to quit my day job anytime soon. I'll say though, like, teachers don't make a whole lot of money, and my print on demand income is starting to get to the point. I'm hoping maybe in Q4 where it would match. So I'm getting close. I'm not there yet, but that would be a fun day.
That's amazing. That'd be a great achievement. You definitely have to share it in the. Well, you don't have to, but you should share it in the success channel on Discord if you outpace your 9-to-5 income. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
For the people who kind of want to learn from similar sources as you, I think you've got a playlist of videos that have helped you quite a lot.
Yeah, I'll be happy to share that with you, and you can maybe post it somewhere, or I'll post it in the Discord community.
Yeah, I'll put it in the description.
By the way, I've got to say, Philip, I'm gonna interrupt one more time. You often use the phrase "someone in the Discord community." You're often talking this mysterious person, someone in the Discord community posted this, and I felt like for this interview I need to have a T-shirt It says someone on the Discord community.
Yeah, nice little name tag. You can sort
Maybe half the time it's like, well, I think I have an idea who he's talking about. It's
yeah,
someone
oftentimes
person.
it's you. Yeah, I don't want to
Yeah.
out people in case they don't want to be outed, but yeah, you should
Yeah.
have that name
No,
tag
but
in front of you.
there you go. Yeah, but I'll be happy to share that playlist with you. I think there have been a number of videos that have come out in the past year or even before that that have been instrumental in helping me, grow and learn. And I've tried to put together a playlist that covers some different topics. Um, the one that I don't know if it's your most viewed video or not, but you're introducing us to the book Atomic Habits by James Clear.
Yeah.
That's been fantastic. That was like mind blowing, and I'm listening to I listen to audiobooks. I'm not very good with sitting down and reading, but I listen to audiobooks, and I think I'm on my third listen to that. I come back to about every 6 months or so. So that's been great. But just getting back to the playlist, I think there's some helpful things in there that were pretty monumental for me in my growth.
That's amazing. I will leave a link to that in the description. And if anyone's got follow-up questions for Steve, he is someone in the Discord server.
There you go.
No,
Yeah.
you can find him there. He doesn't have a YouTube channel, at least not for print on demand, right? And yeah, I really appreciate your time. There's lots of good advice in this. So much has changed since we last spoke, and I wonder what it's going to be like in another year. Maybe we'll do another one of those. Let us know in the comments if you want to see that, if we should do another catch-up in a year from now. I think that'd be interesting to see the progress.
Absolutely. I think anything could happen. I mean, the print on demand space is changing so much all the time. And so you never know what could happen. But boy, Philip, I just want to say how much I appreciate your coaching for me. And it's been great. So thank you so much.